All right, season 2, episode 7 of the Harold Katz podcast. Glad you could join us over in Glickman and Keep It Poppers, and of course, Coach. A lot has unfolded since our last show. With the YU Max have played 3 games, one in the Skyline on the road to Mount St. Vincent, and 2 home games against 2 NCAA tournament pedigree teams. Coach, a lot of lessons, a lot of takeaways, a lot of good, a lot of bad, a lot of ugly in these last 3 games. Why don't we start off with the NYU game? I know you actually had the opportunity to be at that game in person. What do you think the main takeaways of that one, as well as Nichols, are?
Well, I kind of think it's maturity. And by that, I mean, for the most part, I think out of our first 8 or 9 guys who hit the floor that night, everybody but God was a sophomore. So,
Or a freshman.
So you're really talking about the difference between a team that's tested, mature, intelligent, and a team that, boy, it's just not there yet. And here's what I mean by that. I mean, every time we made a run at NYU and we needed a bucket, we were immature. Every time, I'm sorry, let me go back. Every time we made a run at NYU and they needed a bucket, they were mature. Sure, they could shoot the first available 3 that they got, but they didn't. Because mature teams know that what they give you on the first pass or what they give you on a trail on a break, they're going to give you on a 10th pass. They're going to make you work and break it down. I can't think that night, I can't think of more than, I'm not talking about layups in the paint, but I can't think of really any shot that was contested on the perimeter. There may be 1 or 2, but for the most part, every shot on perimeter was uncontested. And you get that by being patient. Now, it helps that the team you're playing doesn't defend, which was the case on Saturday night. But part of that is because of how patient they are. They make you go through your rotations. They force closeouts. Put a quote on my practice plan today, which was ball reversals, multiple ball reversals equals bad closeouts. They did that to us. We didn't have the patience to do that to them. So when we're at take the lead 31-30, they outscore us the last 3 minutes, something like 16-5. And it was one of these just one anything. It was
even 34-33. So it was a 13-2 run to close that.
Yeah, it was just patient. They got shots they wanted. We left them open, so that's helpful. But their patience was really the killer. They were just more mature. And I thought on Saturday night we were immature. Everything about us was immature. I think we cut it to 59-57, and they stuck us with another run because they were mature. We got excited that we cut the gap, and we were in the game, pretty much the whole night. But they
It's
just
a misleading
decided.
final score. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
It's a misleading final score.
Yeah, well, I think they just decided we're going to run our offense. See, that's the thing about us. Like, we're scoring 80 points a night minimum. So we already know we're going to get points. Why would we take early contested shots? Why would we not? Why would we take early uncontested ones, to be honest with you? I know we had Bruce on a few months ago, Bruce Pearl, but one of the arguments against Bruce is, and Bruce is, he's playing Division I, so his kids are going to be obviously more talented in general, bigger, stronger, faster. Not necessarily sure better shooters, but it's arguably. So, but the argument against that, what was claimed was, take the first one available. The argument against that is if you're immature, like we are, and like we play, you end up taking the first available shot that may not be a great shot, but it's the first available shot that you may think is open.
Yeah, Coach, I would also add in the half court, NYU did not take any times the first shot, but there were a few times on the break where they had shooter.
Okay, dude, I'm not saying the break because we take it on the break too. I'm saying that they went and decided we're going to make you work, and ultimately that's how forcing teams to close out equals mistakes. So they were just much more mature than we were. We'd go 1-on-4, or we'd go 2-on-4, or we'd jack a 3 when we weren't ready. And all we had to do was run our stuff because our stuff's working. We're not having issues with points. Points were not the problem on Saturday night or Sunday. Maturity was the problem. Okay, you have to understand, I'm talking about basketball maturity. I'm not talking about the players' maturity. I'm talking about, basically NYU has an old man game.
Yeah.
An old man game just kicks the crap out of young man game. It just does. And I love young man game, getting up and down the floor and all that stuff. But old man game, when you need a bucket, I'd rather have an old man team than a young man team.
Yeah, I mean, it's November, but even in March, they'll still be the more experienced, mature team. What do you expect we will basically improve and work on that'll make us better equipped once we hopefully play the NYUs?
I'm not sure I agree with you on that.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to take you back to 2017, maybe. We started 5 sophomores because we had an injury to Mike and Tal. We started 5 sophomores in a championship game at Purchase. A game, I think, the last time we were there that year was a shot clock issue, and we gave up a bucket at the end of the game. Guys thought the buzzer went off, whatever. The clock at Purchase, the horn at Purchase for the end of the game and the end of the shot clock were the same. And you're not supposed to have that. You're supposed to have distinct sounds so you know what it is. So the guys thought the shot clock had gone off, or that the game had gone off, but they hadn't reset the shot clock on YU's side. So then with no time left on the clock, they went and got a dunk. We went back there a few months later, and we were much more mature. But I thought we played immature all night that night.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, we had Gabriel the second time, but we were much more mature. So I'm not sure I totally agree with your assessment. Like, they'll be more mature in years, but already yesterday we saw more maturity addressing this issue. So like, we were much more mature on Monday, but we'll get to that when we discuss Monday. But or was that Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Yeah, last night. But you're right. They're always going to be more mature, physically, because they're older. But I'm not sure they're going to be more mature basketball wise, and that's kind of where we need to improve. And we already saw it yesterday.
Right.
So, while I agree with you as far as that's concerned, I'm not sure the gap. Like if we're playing well, look at it this way: if we get to the NCAA tournament, we've closed that gap between their maturity and our maturity.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball maturity. And if we get to that spot, we've already closed the gap. Like, if we win our league, we've already closed the gap. The only way we're going to do it is if we're mature basketball mature. Like we're just not taking the first look. That we're making teams have to guard us. Because, like I said, our offense is not the problem.
Just to jump on that, Coach, yeah. Would you make the statement that it's not possible to win a basketball conference if you aren't mature as a team, no matter how good you are talent-wise?
Good question. It's not. Good question. I mean, you can get away with it, but you can't win anything substantial without it. I think you have to. I mean, there are teams like Grinnell that have. I mean, in what they do, they have basketball maturity, but I wouldn't look at that and go, "Boy, that's mature." Like they just don't make you close. They we played a team, Adrian, when I was at Goucher. They were very similar. They just never make you close out. I mean, they don't make you guard enough to be mature. Like the most frustrating thing on Saturday night was uncontested, wide open dagger shots, and that happened all night.
Especially with Severino.
Yeah, Severino, Spencer Friedman. They just hit like dagger shots. Sunday they hit dagger shots too. But they're uncontested ones because they make you work and they make you close out and they make you make mistakes. And when you can make the team that makes the least mistakes wins. So yes, Pop, I think you have to have a certain level of maturity, but I've been around teams that were not necessarily basketball mature that did win a league. They just didn't go far enough, like lost in the Sweet 16 or something, because eventually you're going to come up against a team that is mature. That's one of the reasons why I believe that the 2019 team, they were all old men, including Ryan. It was just an old man game. And while Ofek and Eitan were not, the leaders of that team all played old man game. And they had such great maturity and patience that's why I thought they were the best team in America.
Well, it also kind of, even if that's not how Ofek or Eitan played, it kind of wore down from a mentality standpoint, and then it impacted.
You didn't have a choice. I mean, I think of Saturday night against Harrisburg.
Yeah,
we're up whatever we were, and there's
at half.
No. It was late in the game, and they were pressing us, and Eitan's coming down the floor, and instead of Donnie going bucket, he just kicks to the corner because there's like 2:30 to go. And Eitan throws bucket and starts getting on Donnie. And all Donnie did was turn around and point to the scoreboard like, dude, we got enough points to win right here. We're in the 90s, Eitan. We don't need this bucket. Like, let's work some clock. That's a mature, where the young kid wants to get more buckets. The veterans going like, we don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
Got enough. And when he got to the bench, Donnie's hand mover, come on, and Simcha got on Eitan and Elliott got on Eitan because the old man was right. Like, you don't have enough. We have enough. You don't need that. That sort of thing is what you need to win late, in the season. Like you need that maturity, the understanding possession, time, and score, and etc. So, it's a great question, Pop. I think you can win without maturity. You just can't beat anybody good without maturity.
So, Coach, because we had these early tests against teams like NYU and Nichols, we still have these upcoming non-conference games against Amherst, Wesley, and Hope.
Right.
Do you expect in these games we'll see that improved level of maturity?
As far as our perspective has to be we're 2-0, and that's it. Like that's really, that's what we got going on. We just have to keep piling wins in our league. Most people weren't really on the bandwagon back then, so they didn't really know how we did what we did. So everybody who comments on us now is kind of sitting here going like, oh, I use losing to these guys. People forget or don't even realize we lost to Williams at home when they were top 5, I think, in the country. And then we lost to, who else smoked us that year? Somebody beat us. Come on, Pop. There was
It wasn't Ramapo that year, was it?
Yeah, we played Ramapo, who went to the Final Four that year. And at some point, we just ran out of gas because we only had like 7 or 8 guys in uniform that night. And it was one of these things like, okay, we knew we were going to get help after the break, which was Gabriel and was supposed to be DT Daniel Sion, but he ended up staying for the rest of the year. But we knew Gabe was coming, so we kind of felt like we had something. But that year you played Williams, who I think went to the Elite Eight, and you played Ramapo, who went to the Final Four. That experience for Sim, Donnie, I don't know if Tyler played in either game because I thought he might have got hurt. But that experience for Bar was monumental. It was massive for us. And you, in order to find out where you want to be and how you want to get there, you have to get your face kicked in once in a while. But even, I mean, look at it this way. Last year, we weren't ready to compete on this level, and we got smoked up there.
Right.
Here, we're 59-57. I don't know what it is, 10 minutes left.
13 to go.
It's a good game.
And I guess, Coach, just to add on, in the Williams game, I think it was 21-20 we were up.
Yeah, Donnie hit a jumper from the corner. Yeah.
The Ramapo,
exactly what happened. Exactly.
The Ramapo game was a 3-point game at halftime.
Yeah, but
the NYU game was a 34-33 game with 2.5 to go in the first. So in all those games, the second half it kind of got out of hand, but the first half you could see the young team sticking and then kind of falling apart in the second half.
Yeah, well, what happened at 21-20 in the Williams game is we had to go to our bench, and our bench just wasn't ready, you know.
Sure.
I think our first 6 got, we went through DT. That was the DT's year, I think. The year before that, we went up to Williams and got beat badly. And that was a great experience for us. And it was a great experience for them to come back to us. And it was great. The Rampo game was great because we were playing with them. And remember Chuck saying to me when the game was over, your kids just ran out of gas. The coach of Rampo. You just ran out of gas. That was, and I think that was right. We just didn't have depth. So the people don't understand that's what preseason is for. That's what at a conference is for. The hope is, and I believe this to be the case, we now found out how much we have to kind of focus, how zeroed in we have to be those guys. And I think when the weekend was over, it kind of exposed us for what we weren't doing very well. And by Tuesday night, we were different on the defensive end and the offensive end. That's what the value of those games are. And while everybody goes nuts about them, we look at them in a very different way than everybody else because we have to have a macro view. And everybody else has this micro view. And the macro view of it is like, yeah, we could have won. Yeah, we should have won. But this is a valuable experience, invaluable, actually, because you can't even, now we have to turn that into, success. That's on us. But you can't even put a price on this for a coach. Like, especially if you go out there and compete like we did. And now, you're just maybe 5 stops away from winning the game. Or at least taking it to the last minute. And I think the same thing is true on Sunday, where I thought we were actually worse defensively. But, by Tuesday night, the players themselves seem to have fixed that themselves. And that, that is exactly what you want.
Yeah.
But the answer to your question is, well, you're right. NYU will still be more mature. I'm not, it's like when you play Little League and you have that one 12-year-old in 6th grade league who's just bigger and stronger than everybody else. And then by the time he goes up to high school baseball, the gap between those kids has changed. In other words, the gap used to be 6 miles long. Now it's 10 feet long because those other kids who were late bloomers got bigger, stronger, faster while he stayed the same. And so they caught up to him. I mean, I've seen that with a ton of kids in baseball and basketball, where the gap is so wide because the kid's so much more mature than everybody else, physically more mature than everybody else. Well, it's the same thing here. Like the gap is really wide between us and them right now as far as our mature approach to possessions. I'm not sure that gap's going to stay that way. I mean, I think the gap's going to shrink. How much it shrinks will decide where we end up. You know what I mean? If it shrinks a lot, we may get a chance to see one of these guys again. If it doesn't shrink, we're on the outside looking in anyway, and then hopefully the lessons we learn this year will help us next year. I don't think that's the case. I think we're actually going to take advantage of this in a good way, like we did on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think you're going to have those bandwagon fans say, Mount St. Vincent's not NYU. Okay, they're not, but that doesn't mean that you can't capitalize on these lessons against NYU and then improve in these areas against your skyline opposition.
It's kind of why you play NYU, because I remember Joe Theismann wins the Super Bowl, 83 or whatever it was. And I think the Redskins had the number one defense. I'm still saying Redskins, I don't care. The Redskins had the number one defense in the NFL or up there. So they asked Theismann after the game, was this difficult? And I think it was Miami or something. And he goes, no, I play against the best defense every day of the week. So Sundays are vacation for me. Well, I'm not saying that's the same thing here, but you just played NYU. And now you're going to play a team that's not NYU. And so then you have to decipher as a coach, was it what they did or what we made them do? You understand? Like sometimes you're right. Mount St. Vincent's not NYU. But was it what they were doing? And they got good shots and they got uncontested shots and just missed them? Or did we make them do what we needed them and wanted them to do? And I think the latter is true. So you can take a combination of opponent plus improvement, and sort of playing better defensively scheme-wise, which made it more difficult for Mount St. Vincent. Because the scheme wasn't there on Saturday, Sunday, and now it's here Monday. The scheme, us not being in scheme, wouldn't have changed Monday or Tuesday. If we weren't a good defensively in our scheme, it would have exposed us on Tuesday. But we were actually better on Tuesday scheme-wise. So while everybody can say, well, it was Mount St. Vincent, it wasn't NYU, that's all true. But when you go back and watch the film, it had much more to do with our scheme.
Yeah, I think also something which you would suggest is that there were some points where we played poorly on a given possession and we didn't get burned and we would have gotten burned, but not to the effect of 97 points if we would have been playing NYU on Tuesday.
No, I mean, but you could say that every night, regardless of who your opponent is. So scheme-wise, in the half court I'm talking about. Yep. In the half court, on both ends of the floor, scheme-wise, it was really more of us than them. And that's what you have to look at and then say, okay, are we getting better or do we just take advantage of a lesser opponent than the one we played Saturday or Sunday? And the actual truth to me, from a scheme standpoint, was we got better on Tuesday because we did things differently and we were better at it. You understand what I mean?
So I think that captures the NYU side of the learning experience. Now you play Nichols in less than 24 hours. Do you factor that into the game at all or not, or no?
Not really. I mean, it's, You're playing basketball, dude. Your basketball window is about 4 years in college. So that means, God willing, for another 86 to,
and we've done it before at these weekend tournaments.
Yeah, to 116 years. It's a very small window of your life. Suck it up, Buttercup. Get out here and play. You know what I mean? I mean, you're never going to regret playing back-to-backs when you're in college, as opposed to not playing at all. Right? You got guys who sit on a bench for 4 years. The regret is they didn't go to a place where they could play. No, I'm not even talking about YU. I'm talking about anywhere. You know, where you get some kid who thinks I'm gonna make a run at Division I, and he does it and never plays a minute. And then you kind of wonder, like, well, why wouldn't I go somewhere where I could play? So, yeah, I mean, so from a you know, you tired. Yeah, you're probably fatigued a little bit, but that defense is nothing but effort. See, defense is, each possession is a series of sequences and events inside a 30-second shot clock. Like, you stop penetration, and then you got to recover the other side, and then you got to X to the baseline. And there's a lot in there in 30 seconds. You got a lot to do. So,
yeah, I mean, I think I sent there was a clip which I sent to our chat, just focused on Doton on one possession where he took 65 steps in a given possession.
Right. I mean, that's just sequences of event. You know, you just combine all these events inside the sequence of your defense. So we just weren't any good on Sunday defensively. Like, remember now, we scored 94?
92.
92? Did they not count the last basket? So 92 points.
The 92, it was 90, and then Zevi hit the last second.
If you score 92 points in a college game, you should win that. There's no excuse to lose that. The fact that we lost that tells you all you need to know about how we were playing on a defensive end. And we turned a 30% shooting team into a 55% shooting team from three. There is zero excuse for that. And here's the thing about the fatigue thing. Defense is all about effort. And that's real. I mean, you need technique and skill set. But really, it takes no talent to hustle. None. And we just had guys who were not interested. And I'm talking about up and down. And I love all of them. And I never take shots at them. And I don't view this as take a shot at them. This is information they already know that we didn't guard worth a lick. That's what was disappointing to me. What disappointing to me is, hey, you know what? If you give these guys your best shot on both ends of the floor and get beat, you tip your hat and you just go, yeah, we got our ass kicked. All right, next. Let's get better. That's not what we did.
No,
we didn't get our best. Yeah, we didn't put up a fight. I don't mean to say that. We did put up a fight. That's the crazy thing about this team. Like, you're scoring 80 plus a night. But we can score. Scoring the ball and running our stuff is not the problem. We got into stretches on both Saturday night and Sunday where we chose not to run our stuff. And we got in a little trouble. And that's when you say, why are we not trusting our stuff that's actually bothering them? And that's where maturity comes in. You know, you have to be mature enough to know, you know what? You know, we got to be better than that. We got to be smarter, better.
I think there'll be people who will find it interesting that you're visibly more frustrated about Nichols because we played them closer than NYU.
No, I'm visibly more frustrated about Nichols because we didn't guard anybody. Like, we didn't guard anybody Saturday night either.
Well, I think Oren's question was that people will be interested to see that because we played Nichols closer. Yeah, that's why people will be interested to see it. He's not, as opposed to him saying that that's why you're more frustrated.
I'm not sure I understand. What's your point?
Go ahead, Oren.
Yeah, I think people find it interesting that the frustrations lie more with how we played against Nichols compared to NYU, even though Nichols was a closer game.
Not me. I mean, to me, the Nichols thing is a disappointment. It's a missed opportunity. Because
that was a game for
yeah, we
the.
just well, I don't know. I mean, they're pretty good. We just decided not to guard, and then we went into stretches where we played my shot basketball. My shot basketball are shooting turnovers. My shot.
We had that a lot last season too.
We did in last season, and we didn't. We don't always have it this year. Like in the whatever we are, 7 games in, we've done a pretty good job of ignoring my shot basketball. But on Saturday night, Sunday, I thought we got into a little bit of my shot. And again, you got to sacrifice the me for the we if you want to do something special. If you just want to say you play college basketball and you won some games, that's awesome. But and then you can play my shot. But if you want to win something and be remembered and do like now, every single team that plays at YU is going to only be compared to one team. And it's not the team that was at the end of that 50 in a row. It's the team that was at the beginning of the 50 in a row that did all the heavy lifting on it. That's a team you're going to be compared to. And to be honest, until somebody does what they did, you're going to fall short. Because that team, I wouldn't say flawless, but they were battle tested. They were battle tested in the playoffs. They were battle tested over 4 years. They were playing their best basketball in March. I mean, that team's best 2 games were in the NCAA tournament. And that just means you're doing it. But that just means we set up the season exactly right. To get to that point and you want to play your best basketball in March. And we were doing that. So now every team that follows, and it's very unfair to these guys, every team that follows is compared to that team. Now, the team to compare this team to is the 2017 team when those guys were sophomores in college. Because that's really what we're looking at here. And the growth projection, everything about it is pointing in the right direction. Now you just have to handle teams in front of you that are pretty good, whether it be Farmingdale, Manhattanville, things that have stuck in your craw, Long Island, things that have stuck in your craw a little bit, you're just going to have to show up and play. Back then there were some good teams in that league now, and they sort of, that 2019 team sort of, the only, they had 2, maybe 3 close games where they were never in doubt. Sarah Lawrence, Farmingdale in the playoffs, and then
at Mount St. Mary was close with 5 to go.
Yeah, but never got the sense that you were going to lose like that. Yeah. That's how good they were. They were just in total control almost every night. But when they started to play my shot, people forget Sim basically missed most of the Sarah Lawrence game. So we were playing without him. And because he got hurt or he had a headache or something bad happened to him.
Yeah, he hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, whole second half. So like when we started, most of those games you could point to a my shot basketball mentality. So it's unfair to this team. I compare them when they're seniors, not when they're sophomores. When they're sophomores, a fair comparison is the team that beat Purchase to go to championship. And this team has there's no reason to believe they can't do it. It's going to have to work hard. It's going to take multiple efforts. That's what defense is, multiple efforts.
Listen, I will pick option 1, playing NYU and Nichols and Hope and Wesleyan and all these schools and being winless in all of them versus playing Gallaudet, Hunter, Baruch and being undefeated.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. Yeah, I mean, from a coaching standpoint, you have to prepare yourself And the only way you can prepare yourself is to find out, what do we have to do to get to where we want to go? And part of that is getting your face kicked in. So we're in the process of doing that. And I think the way we've reacted to it is a massive positive. Like, a lot of guys go point fingers in the locker room and start playing my shot basketball and something like that. We're not doing that. As a matter of fact, I thought our best, our most unselfish game, and probably our best defensive effort, maybe last Sunday, but our best defensive effort, was Tuesday night. So you can only judge from the last game. The thing about the Nichols game is, we had so many chances to take the lead and to cut into everything, and we weren't mature. That changed on Tuesday. I think we, I don't know, became less selfish, more selfless.
I would also add, Coach, there was even when the game was cut to 6, with about 5 minutes to go on Tuesday, you could just tell by the way we were guarding that there was no way we were going to lose that game.
Well, I didn't think we were going to lose. I just thought we got sloppy late.
Sure.
And that comes with maturity. You're impatient. You fail to realize that the first half of the pass belongs to the passer, and the second half of the pass belongs to the receiver. So as you sit and wait for the ball to come to you, or you throw it behind somebody, the defense is still playing in the tech mode. So we fell subject to that. But, I mean, Zevy's sort of playing like All-American, and he's a closer. And we have a lot of closers, Max. Or, as soon as everybody's on the same page, it's going to be exciting to watch. I like to think we're in the process of getting there, and this is process. So everybody wants to eat the hot dog. They just don't know they just don't want to know how the hot dog's made.
But Coach, when do you think with this team we're always learning. We're learning, players are learning, everyone's learning in life. But when do you think we're kind of past that learning phase with this group?
Well, sometimes you never get past it. I think you're constantly, you're going look, that team in 2019 had to learn what it was like to not give effort late in the season. You win 18 in a row or whatever it was. And then you put up a stinker like 97, 95 with Purchase at home. How could you do that? How could you do that? We never recovered from that.
The Rafter game.
Yeah, we just didn't recover from that, even if we won in the playoffs. We just never recovered from it. And so we learned that lesson. As a matter of fact, I've made the argument, and I think I've said it on this show before, had we not lost the championship that year, I don't believe we go 29-1, and I'm not sure we win the next year. And so the answer to your question, Warren, is you may mature a little bit, but if you're not always learning, the game will humble you, dude. Take it from a guy who's currently 1-3. You get humbled right quick, and we got humbled, and every single guy to a man said this is never going to happen again. And to their credit, it didn't. So I know what you're talking about. You're talking about when are we no longer young? I mean, I think we're still young, but we're in the process of becoming unyoung, older, right?
Right.
But you still got to go through this. We've never really gone through this before. Like last year, we had the Wesleyan game up there, but that team was different than this team. Each team has basically an 8-month shelf life. You know what I mean? Maybe even the last September, October, November, December, January, February, March, maybe you have 7 months together. And then the next team is a whole different team. But the core group here is learning together now. Dotan didn't get the minutes because we were playing somebody else, or wasn't with this group, you can see from Gav Landau's play alone that the more he plays, kind of the more comfortable he gets. And we in turn are guys have roles on their team, and it's when guys try to get out of that role that it becomes problematic. So, but God's been really good the last few days, and that's a team first guy. Just when people are ready to write him off, he pulls a great game out of his ass. And I thought for the first 37 minutes last night, he was really exceptional. Smart shots. Maybe the one off the break wasn't great, but smart shots, intelligent passing. Late in the game, everybody got messy. So, but that's part of that process, Oren, that you learn from. So I hope they never stop learning, because you can always grow. But
right, just to jump in, Coach. Everyone got messy, not just the sophomores and the freshmen. Even got. It's not just. It gets back to the maturity thing not being the maturity thing is about basketball maturity. It's not about an age maturity.
No, agreed. And everybody got messy. I'm not calling it, and we know better, and we'll get better. So, but the point is that you got a little tested, and you kind of never really let it get within 2 possessions. And once you after 21, so once you do that, you're starting to figure it out a little bit, and again, it was consistent, mature possessions. You know what I mean? And that's really what it's going to take. Mature on both ends of the floor, and that's really what it's going to take. So you'll keep learning, but the maturity level, your question for that, I think we're in a process of watching that now. And if that continues Sunday, and then we build on it the following week, we'll see exactly what we're made of, because I think that's where we're going.
Yeah. As you mentioned, Sunday, that's the next game, home again at 1:00 against Sarah Lawrence. But Coach, don't you think there could be a difference between maturity and skyline play, because we're more familiar with our opposition, compared to maturity against non-conference opposition?
Well, I think maturity is maturity. Once you learn to be mature in your game, you're mature, whether you play together. There's different levels, different question is a comfort level with your opposition.
Right.
That you play twice a year. Maturity is different than comfort level, because you can be comfortable and still be immature basketball wise. But the maturity level, that's different. That doesn't matter, conference in conference. Maybe your comfort level is leading you to be more mature, but surely that team 2 years ago did not prove that to be the case. They were highly immature on both ends of the floor at really inopportune times. And so that's why all these teams that you're used to playing, all those games were close for long stretches that shouldn't have been, because we weren't mature as a team. And I think we ended up playing immature in the NCAA tournament. I think that immaturity ran through. This is a different group, and they're kind of all learning it together. So it's kind of cool to watch and to see the instant feedback you get on Tuesday.
Yeah. I think we've also seen a lot of evolution too at the same time. I saw plays from various players throughout this weekend. Like I thought, for example, Jacob Roden was one-dimensional, but I saw him make a fabulous play off the dribble. A lot of these guys, Ben Haber played some valuable minutes in the NYU game.
It's opportunity, or you have to know when you could take a 2x4 and whack your coach on the head with it. And when he gives you the opportunity, you cannot give him an excuse to get rid of you. So you constantly have to whack your coach over the head. Constant. And like I tell my players all the time, you have a choice. You can make my life easier or miserable. I mean, I prefer you make it miserable.
Right.
So I can't sleep because I'm not sure who I'm going to play because I don't have enough minutes. You make my life easy. You don't pay attention. You don't guard. You don't rebound. You don't box. You don't defend. You don't share the ball. You make my life easy. I'm I'm not playing you if you ain't gonna guard. Thank you. Now I can sleep well at night because I know you're not in my equation. So I think that's from a coach's standpoint. Any coach who says he doesn't go through that is a liar. A liar. I'm calling all y'all coaches out. Like every coach, like he wants to be miserable because he wants to find time for guys he has to play. And any coach who they're just lying. They'd rather be miserable for that reason, as opposed to the reason I'm miserable.
I mean, Pop can fact check this on me, but I think there were a lot of times last year where Elliott would maybe go to 2-3 guys off the bench. It seems to me like they're more quality, capable options with the bench this year compared to last year.
D was hurt. I think Effie was hurt, so we had to develop other things. Now that they're all, thank God, coming back, and now Yoav is hurt. You have to reach. There's no Yoav, so it gives Ben Haber an opportunity to play. Gives Roy an opportunity to make a larger impact. So it's your chance. Ben Haber's not going to be forgot right quick. He may not be getting reps like that, but he definitely did something to put him in everybody's mind of like, there's always been. So that's what you have to do. I mean, you have to take advantage of those. Yeah, that's what Jacob's been doing. He's been taking advantage of the windows. Other guys have not. And that's they gotta but Jacob's been impressive. Yeah, I agree with you. Look, if you're starting to get even minimal minutes, that means he's starting to trust you. I think he trusts Jacob to a certain extent. But the leases are going to be as long as Jacob because he has these other guys, So you have to play balls out when you get on the floor. Period. There's no holding back. It's balls out, get after it, and let's see what happens when you take me out the game. That's it. That's it. And I thought, just to pivot to last night, I thought last night they zoned you all night, never got out of it. You had to be mature to handle it, which we were. And then on defensive end, we were finally looked like we were connected. We looked last Sunday like we were connected. And then the 10 days later, we were finally connected again. So we looked connected last night, and that you have to connect on defense. You have to connect on both sides of the floor. You can get away with it on all. If you're not connected on defense, you can't get away with it. So communication was obviously better. Scheme was better. Guys worked harder. So I mean that's sort of what we've been looking for. And now you just have to sustain it, no matter who you play, whether it's Sarah Lawrence or Wesleyan or Amherst, doesn't matter. And some of those teams that we play will make shots even against good scheme, and you just take your hat off. And then go, all right, next possession. Again, multiple efforts in 1 30-second time frame. That's what defense is. So you just kind of keep playing it, possession after possession. And if your number's called, So we have a opportunity here to kind of get out in front of everybody because we'll have 7 or 8 games in the bag before anybody else will have 2 in conference. And then while we're on break, we can watch them catch us or try to. That's the hope, So the idea would be to stack wins. The only game you're interested in right now is Sunday.
Yeah.
Everything else is irrelevant.
I think there were a lot of people who wanted, this team to kind of sort of get a grade with these 2 tests. But in my opinion, it's in progress,
Right. I don't think Well, look, I think you could grade. I thought our defensive grade on both nights was an F. On offensive grades, I would say on Saturday night, our offensive grade
B.
probably a C minus, C, because we were so immature. I think our grade on Sunday was probably a B on the offensive end, and a definitive F on the defensive end. And I thought on Tuesday night we were an A minus on the defensive end, and probably the same on the offensive end. And the only reason it's a minus on the offensive end is because we missed some gimmies at the rim. We turned the ball over late. Some of those were omission mistakes instead of commission mistakes. And then we got sloppy with the ball. And so that's the only reason I do that. So I think we're trending in the right direction. More so in scheme than in competition, if you know what I mean. Like, it's our scheme that's trending in the right direction. It's guys running our stuff that's trending in the right direction. And that's the maturity level you're waiting for. Can you do that every single night? That's the difference between being at NYU right now and Yeshiva.
Game in, game
Well, Coach, right now NYU is playing Caltech in California, and it's a single-digit game with 3 to go. So I don't know about NYU every night, but most nights for sure.
Well, I'm not talking about be like NYU every night. I'm talking about, can we be mature every night?
Well, yeah, I know. I'm saying, but you're saying that NYU is a team which is mature every night. I just thought it was funny. I agree with you also that NYU is mature pretty much every night.
Well, you don't know if Caltech's not mature. I mean, you may, but
I'm sure Caltech's mature. They're just not any good.
And they're also playing the Super Bowl game for them.
That's true.
This is the NCAA tournament.
That's true.
For NYU, they're just going out there, to take a vacation.
Well, and then they play a top 25 team.
Play some game. And by the way, it may be a gotcha game, and you don't know if that. I mean, maybe you do know if it's a 8-point game now. Was it a 25-point game a while ago?
I wasn't following. I was producing the show.
You don't know what that was. You were what?
I was producing the show. I wasn't.
Look how dedicated you are. You don't know what the game's, but it might be 8 now, but it was 15. Kind of like the game last night with us. It was 15, 17 maybe, and then it gets whittled to 11 and 9. Basically, it was a hard 10 last night.
Well, yeah, I saw it was 63-60 at one point, but I understand your point.
Yeah. So you don't really know, and then that's good for them because they're in a gotcha game, and you got to be able to win those. And anytime you're a good team and you get tested, is good, and it humbles you and it helps your coaches put their foot up your ass a little bit, which is always needed. So that's my take on those three games.
So Sunday afternoon, 1:00, we'll continue our Skyline play, hosting Sarah Lawrence in the Max Stern Athletic Center. I want to pivot now to current events, if you don't mind, Coach.
Yeah.
There's a topic that's certainly gotten you fired up, rightfully so, in terms of the Dallas Mavericks and a controversial player, part of their squad. So please, you have the floor.
I'm disappointed in Mark Cuban more than anything else, because like Mark Cuban, who I think spoke out against what the NBA was doing to Donald Sterling when he lost his team. They took his team away because some lady illegally taped him, and he said some comments he shouldn't have said that were kind of racist, and so the league just says, well, you're our partner in this and we don't want to partner with you, so we're taking your team away, and gave it to Steve Ballmer. I mean, that happened to my grandfather, really, because he had a business, and then people didn't like the way he lived his life or things he said, and then they took his business from him and put him in a concentration camp. So that was my take on what the NBA did to Donald Sterling. You have a right in this country to be an asshole. That's your right. And the response that people will give you is, yes, but we don't have to be in business with you because you're an asshole. So our corporation, who's a partner with you, has made a decision that you need to be excommunicated from this partnership so our business can function better. There's no question that this douchebag, and I said it, Kyrie Irving, is an unwanted commodity. Nobody wanted him. He's this faux intellectual, pseudo intellectual, who thinks he has a great handle on, world events or world history. And I don't know, to me, raping women, shooting them, burning them alive, killing babies in front of their parents, killing parents in front of their children, calling home about it and celebrating it. If you are on the side of the group that does that, you have no moral compass, or your moral compass is so effed up that you have no concept of right and wrong. So Kyrie Irving walking into in typical Kyrie Irving, hey, I was just wearing a headscarf, walking in with an Arafat headdress around the arena he was playing in, and going to press conference with it on, and Mark Cuban staying silent. Mark Cuban, who a few days before talked about the anti-Semitism going on in the world, and here in his own gym, he traded for a commodity that has been nothing but trouble for every team they've had since he won a championship in Cleveland. He's been a pain in the ass in Boston. He's been a pain in the ass in New Jersey. He's a pain in the ass in Dallas. Oh, he's not a pain in the ass in Dallas. Well, how'd y'all do when he showed up? So, with all due respect, I'm disappointed in Mark Cuban in the worst way, because he should have said something. Like you can, on the one hand, give it to guys or allow guys to get excoriated because they didn't bend for the national anthem years back, or they didn't wear a slogan on their shirt, or they wouldn't celebrate gay hockey night. You can, on the one hand, stick it to those people, and on the other hand, just let these dudes walk around. I mean, to me, as a Jew, the most disappointing thing is that all the Jews in the world got into, supported all these things. Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, the kid who got shot in Florida, Michael Brown, the Jews were all up in that, supported all of it. Rabbi Heschel went down to Mississippi, people walked for civil rights, the Jews. And now the Jews have been tortured and murdered on television. Well, who said it really? Dude, they photoed it. They took movies of it. The Nazis at least were embarrassed by it. They tried to drink their way through it. These sons of bitches over there, they celebrate it. And then they go on TV and tell you they're going to do it again and again and again. Because in their charter, they talk about killing Jews in the world, not in Israel, in the world. In the world. Like, what does some Jew in Poughkeepsie, New York, have to do with you in Gaza? Because it's not about land. It's about Jews. And the fact that the Jew owner of a team says nothing publicly, at least that I found, maybe I hope somebody tells me he did, but that Cuban said nothing about that it's offensive to me as a Jew. And if it's not offensive to, from Cuban's standpoint, if it's not offensive to Cuban as a Jew, then I don't want to hear you give me some Jew lecture about how we need to stand together. So shut up. That's offensive. Yasser Arafat is evil, was evil. And Bill Clinton brought him back from the dead. And the Jews have been paying for it ever since. And we tend to to make that mistake a lot because of our pursuit for peace and our love for life. I mean, think about it. Whenever you get terrorist activity, something happened today in New York or whatever, Canada, you don't think like, oh, God, and Jews again? The Jews again with this terrorism? The Jews again? You never think that. You know what you think. The Muslims did it again. Now, whether that happened here, I don't know. But your first reaction is that. And that happens everywhere in the globe except one place is Israel. Then the whole world's logic is flipped on its ear. Why? Because the Jews are on the receiving end of your ire. I mean, think about this. In the history of the world, whenever the free world has taken on the police state, the free world has always supported the free world, never the police state, except in one spot on the entire planet, where the entire free world supports the police state and admonishes the Jewish state, the free state. Are you outside your mind? There's a Rashi in this week's Torah reading, I believe. What's this week's parsha?
Vayetze.
Next to Vayigash, right? So maybe it's next week's. It's right. When's Vayigash?
It's Vayishlach Vayigash. So
Vayigash.
Yeah, it's in one of these where Esau kisses Yaakov on the neck. And Rashi's right there, quotes a medrash that says, it's law from Moses at Sinai that Esau hates Yaakov. That has proven to be true today. In Leviticus, it is very clear in Vayikra. Hein am levodod yishkon, you are a nation that dwells alone, and no one will reckon you. Now, Rabbi Sachs, over Shalom, who I love, he didn't like to kind of refer to it as no one will want to be with you. He thought that was too harsh. History has proven this to be correct. I mean, actors, that's what bothers me even more. Let's just take Mandy Patinkin. Okay, this capo right here. He goes on television and plays the head of the CIA or whatever in that show that they took from the Israelis. The Israelis had a show called Chatufim, I think. Hostages, is that what the word for hostages? And so they took it and they made this on Showtime. They had a Homeland, they called it. It was basically the same premise. And Mandy Patinkin is on there saying, if you don't stop these people, they'll do it again. And then you're signing a thing that says, let's have a ceasefire. Does anybody really understand what a ceasefire would do to the Jewish people? They went on television after they did this and said they were going to do it again and again and again. Are you an effing idiot? Are you a moron? Maybe it is true. You know what? Maybe it is true. Maybe all we do is put a nickel in the grinder and then we turn it and then you entertain us as entertainers and then shut the F up. Go back into your hole. All you are is the monkey at the end of the organ. You understand? Your opinion is uneducated. I don't care if you went to Harvard. Obviously, going to Harvard nowadays is not that great a thing. But I saw a list of actors who are calling for a ceasefire. I mean, does anybody understand what that means to the Jewish people, or you just don't give a crap? And look, you're in the street, and you're chanting for the murderers of children. Well, Israel does that too. dude, we would never bother you if you did. What October 7th proved, like I said before, was we built the fence to keep you out, not to keep you in, to keep you out. Just leave us alone. Just leave us alone. That's all we want. And here you have this absolute, I don't even know what this malcontent, Kyrie Irving, walking into a press conference. Where's the NBA on this? Where are the NBA players who can't shut up lecturing us about every left-wing lunacy in the world? Where are you? Where are you? What? You support what now? Where are the women's groups? It's okay now to rape Jewish women? Everything's on the table now because they're Jews? Because they're white colonialist oppressors, which of course they're obviously not white, because white people killed us more than everybody else has. So what? Mark Cuban, who lectures everybody with his brilliance, tells you how smart he is all the time. And you let this guy do this in your arena and said nothing? You said nothing? He wore Arafat's headdress and you said nothing? Don't lecture us anymore about being a Jew. Don't do that. About being proud to be a Jew. Why don't you be proud to be a Jew and stand up and tell this overpaid son of a bitch that you wasted your money on because all he's going to do is bring you depression. He just wears out every welcome. He's going to wear out Cuban's welcome too. Once you just tell him it's not appropriate. If he walked in with a Nazi hat on, wearing a Nazi uniform, would you allow him to stay on your basketball team? Would you talk to him about his decision making? Would you? No respect. I have no respect. You tell me how rich you are and all that nonsense. Because if you don't have never again is now. If you don't have the balls to stand up to this guy and tell him exactly what he's doing is inappropriate, and that in your business, he's bad for your business. Or are you afraid that your consumer who sides with the very same murderer is gonna have a blowback on you? And so then your Jewish pride only goes as far as your bottom line? Or are you going to stand up and say something about this? And where are the reporters in the room? How did none of them ask this question? None of them? Why are you wearing that? None of them asked that? After your Hitler bullshit? None of them asked that? I have no respect for the media. I have no respect for Jewish owners who at this moment in time, I mean, look, there are certain commentators I love that I will not watch anymore because your very core gets exposed when the Jews are involved. And understand this, guys. We're never putting this anti-Semitism on display back in the bottle. It's out now. And people are happy to say it. They feel no repercussion from it. They march in the streets of Wisconsin with it. New York, London, you name it. Meanwhile, 1.1 million Afghanis were kicked out of Pakistan, Muslims, and none of them did nothing. Now, whether Pakistan recanted that, I'm not sure. That was the plan, and there was no problem with it at all. Nobody said a word. You only care about them so long as the Jews are involved. I just hate virtue signaling. I just hate it. If you stand up, have some integrity. Like that's my problem with Cuban. Have integrity. If you really believe what you said to all the Jewish people when you put your little kind of 3-minute video out, then do something about it in your own building. I don't even want to say it.
Coach, what do you encourage people to do with Cuban? Do you encourage people to write letters to him?
Nah, he's not going to pay attention. Nah, he's not going to pay attention to it. Listen, he has his own problems in his own building with his own sexual harassment issues going around that ball club. But, I mean, what's Cuban going to do? Like, he didn't do it. Dude, you can't make the guy kind of do the right thing. You either want to do the right thing or you don't. You either believe what you told all these people in your video or you don't. Like how do you allow that? You didn't allow Donald Sterling, and I respected Cuban for talking out about it, but ultimately they got rid of Sterling. Like, this is a partner in your business. He's an employee for you. Would you allow him to walk in with Nazi gear? And if the answer is yes, I got no problems with you.
Or maybe that's not the answer. Maybe in his opinion, talent outweighs racism.
Well, obviously it doesn't, because Donald Sterling is no longer in the NBA.
I'm talking about Kyrie. The talent outweighs the anti-Semitism. That's why.
It doesn't matter. You're my business partner. You're bad for business. Unless he believes that Kyrie's not bad for business, and everybody in the world, including the media, supports Kyrie's position. In which case, bad for Cuban. Because when they come for us, they're coming for him. They may not be coming for his wife and kids, but they're coming for him. You know what I mean? Like that. Like, make no mistake, Oren. Look, I heard somebody say this the other day, and they're right. There are 4 million Muslims in Western Europe. There are 400,000 Jews. For the most part, Jewish life in Western Europe is over. It is over. After centuries, it's over. No one ever asked the question, where's Egypt's Jews? Where's Jordan's Jews? Where's Algeria's Jews? Where's Iran's Jews? Where's Iraq's Jews? Nobody. Well, you're oppressing the Arabs. And the Arabs turn around and tell you, when we get a state, no Jews will live there, and no one says a word. No one says a word. The Jews have done far more for the Arabs and the Palestinians than any of the Arabs have done for them. Far more. Not close. These people are pawns. And they like being pawns. And their entire existence today is to make the Jews' life miserable. And they've done so. And the best part about Israel is the Israelis keep moving on, man. It's a life of purpose. And there's nobody on the planet, nobody, who could tell me what the Palestinian currency was, what the Palestinian flag was, what the Palestinian national anthem was, who name a Palestinian leader before 1967. Nobody. And by the way, the PLO is started in 1964. Was it started in 1964 because of the occupation of 1967? Nobody can name anybody in front of Yasser Arafat. You know why? Because they don't exist. And we can keep playing this game as long as we want. Keep playing like there was some kind of state or some kind of people who live there. Stop. You're a liar. You're turning history on its ear. You're creating false history. Because the ground, every time you dig it up, testifies to a Jew's relationship to his man, to his God, and a man's relationship to his God, and a Jew's relationship to the land. Period. And for some, it's just ignorant. It's just ignorant. They have no idea what happened. And, what was it, 62 people were killed in Jaffa in 1931 in one day? In 1929, they killed a bunch of Jews. Was that because of the occupation of 67? No, it was because they're Jews. They're Jews. And it's okay to hate a Jew now. It's okay. You talk about Jews, it's okay. We've helped them do it. Like the Peace Now movement and the If Not Now movement. I mean, it's all crap. What's it called? J something. J Street.
Jewish Voices for Peace.
Yeah, screw them. Now it's funny because Hamas, which in Hebrew means confusion or evil, there's different ways to translate it. They named themselves. We didn't name them. They named themselves. So those people who walk around with shirts that say, these Jews who walk around with shirts, not in my name. I mean, according to Jewish law, they've taken themselves out of our community. So they're no longer considered part of the community. So when you say not in my name, I say, I agree with you 100%. We're not speaking in your name because you're something other than the Jewish people. And I would say the same thing about Neturei Karta. And I failed. No one's ever asked them this question. At least I haven't seen it. Where you say to them, it's a biblical obligation to defend the land, whether you like the people you're fighting against or not. It's an obligation for a Jew to defend the land. Not the people, the land. How do you get away from not doing that? So that's my rant on this piece of crap, Kyrie Irving. And, I hope Cuban does the right thing, but it's been about 4 or 5 days. I haven't heard a thing. But again, like, to be fair, I don't follow the NBA. I think it's it's not
the
basketball.
Politics aside, I think we've always agreed that the college game.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, the NBA is entertainment. It's not really
team basketball.
It's entertainment. It's nothing to do with basketball. Just entertainment wrapped up in basketball.
Right.
But they're fighting for their entertainment dollar. They're fighting with the movies. They're fighting with, streaming. They're fighting, so they have to make their product, entertaining. Well, how do we do that? Well, we take defense away. That'll be good. Let's change all the rules and make it easier to score. Right? And we're trying to do that to the college game. Just stupid. A basketball purist like myself. I said the other day, I'm so happy I'm 60 and not 20. Because I would not love basketball anymore. They're destroying the game. Every game you watch is a 3-point shooting contest. It's a joke. Including my own, by the way. It's a joke. So that's that. That's my Kyrie Irving rant, my Mark Cuban rant. No respect for him. None. No, I mean, you can't lecture the world on the failed business partner that Donald Sterling was because he said something racist, and not hold yourself to that same standard with your own player in your own building, who you're paying millions of dollars to, and everybody in the league's looking around going, you're an idiot because that guy's nothing but a coach killer. So good luck. Jason over there? Jason Kidd? I don't know. Is that who's coaching now?
I believe so.
This goes out. Like, I don't care. So whatever. Good luck.
Yep, coach, you're right. Jason Kidd's the coach right now.
Good luck. Have fun with that guy. I'm sure he's a joy to be around.
We always appreciate Coach for saying it like it is. We always appreciate you for saying it like it is.
I cleaned it up more than what I wanted to say,
Yeah.
But I just have no. You have chosen the path. Like, if you're Bradley Cooper, you've chosen the path. Who's going to play Leonard Bernstein, a Jew, in a movie? You've chosen your path. You've called for a ceasefire. Don't you understand what that will do to the Jewish people? Do you not? Would you have called for a ceasefire in Germany? How is that different? Just people lack moral clarity. King Saul loses his kingship. And this is a very important lesson and something we really need to think about. The prophet Samuel says to Saul, you need to kill the king, all the Amalekites, right? So in the morning, he comes back and he hears animals. And he says to the king, what's going on? Why do I hear animal noises? So he says, well, the men sinned, but what did the animals do? He said, God told you to kill all of them. And he left the king alive. Why would you do that? And he said, because the people wanted it. And Saul said to him, what I think is the actual sin that was committed. Just because you're small in your eyes doesn't mean you're small in God's eyes. You're the king of the Jewish people. You were told a commandment and you didn't do it. And because of that night, Haman ultimately is born and he terrorizes the Jewish people. Well, you can make the argument that we are leaving alive people today who will terrorize us, God forbid, tomorrow. And I know have done it in the past because we've decided some warped way of thinking. It's just a misplaced mercy. That's all it is. You know, if Adolf Hitler, if you had a chance to kill him in 1932, would you do it? Well, he didn't really do anything. You know what he's going to do. Would you kill him? So, I mean, I think our as a people, our loving, generous nature, our love for life is also our biggest, comes back to bite us more. So, you know, and I just think that we're alone. It's gonna be a long few years here. You're never getting this back in the bottle, ever. Like the more times Israel has to fight their enemies off, the worse these things get. And like you go on TV and the questions are about everybody asks about the deaths, and I mean, it's incredible that they can tell you that they've lost 12,000 people, but they can't find 200 hostages. They don't know where they are. Like Hamas is like, we still need time to go find these people. Really? But you can count 10,000 deaths in 30 seconds. And you take them at their word. The murderers of your babies. They burned people alive. They shot people sitting on toilets. I mean, are you kidding me? You want me to do what now? You want me to sympathize with them? You want me to have mercy on them? No, that's misplaced mercy. I'm sorry. I bend that much, I'll break. At some point, you have to have pride as a Jew. And just say, you know what, you can hate me. I don't really give a shit. Hate me all you want. We have to protect us. That's our job. So believe me, I could go on for another 2 hours, guys. It's that's how pissed I am at this.
On the court and off the court, we have to protect each other.
Yeah, I think now you know Jewish teams have to travel with security. Like I trust nobody. And honestly, if you're a parent and you're thinking about sending your kid to a secular college, your compass may be broke too. How could you endanger your child like that? I couldn't do it. Sorry. Whatever. We're a nation that dwells alone, gentlemen.
Well, thanks so much to Poppers and Coach for another great episode.
I think I'm gonna be able to sleep after you round me up like this, fellas.
That's our bad. But we're ending before midnight at least.
Sorry for disturbing.
Thanks so much for everyone, as usual, for tuning in. As we mentioned throughout the show, the next YU game is this Sunday at home at 1 o'clock against Sarah Lawrence in the Max Stern Athletic Center. Wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and we will be back in the near future with episode 8 of season 2 of the Herald Katz podcast. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good night.
Bye, guys.